Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks again for joining us to the spring edition of Talks and Takes. I know it's been an interesting spring so far. Some people are getting snow with record dates. I think in like 50 years they've ever had snow this late, at least this much of it. So people are experiencing some unique things across the country related to climate. But I want to start before we get into our list here. Blair's been keeping really close tabs on the relief packages that have been debated about in Congress, and he's got an update for everybody before we get into our formal list. So Blair, you want to give everybody some of the latest news?
Yeah, so there is HR 3807, about a $40 billion package that's already passed the House. It probably will not pass the Senate, so there's two bills. That $40 billion relief package, IHRSA is not too hip on that one. That is industry agnostic. So for anybody that was hurt, and then it creates these thresholds, 80% revenue loss or more, 60% revenue loss or more, 40% revenue loss or more as how to prioritize. And they're small businesses, less than 200 employees. You know, what I think one of the points in my discussion with Jeff was, you know, if you had 80% loss, who the hell survived that? Like, how many businesses are actually out there? Even if you had 60% loss, who survived that? Right. So they're not really wild about that. Then there's the Senate bill 4008, about $42 billion. It's important to remember both of these bills, the majority of the money goes to restaurants. They're both part of the Restaurant Revitalization Act. In S4008, though, they carve out specifically across 4 industries, including fitness, and it's $2 billion. And some of the same ways to qualify for it as before. I think the cap in the Senate bill is 2 million, and the cap in the House bill is 1 million. So then my question was, how do they reconcile these 2 bills and which one moves ahead? The answer to that question appears to be whatever the Senate wants is what moves ahead.
Right.
You know, not what the House wants. So the challenge, and what we're asking everybody to do out there, is to contact your 2 senators in your state and tell them to support S4008. It's critical. They come back from recess on April 25th. We need 60 votes in order to get this on the floor so that it can be voted on. That means we need 10 Republicans. And that's where we don't have enough support right now. It's tough for Republicans who are saying, I am putting the brakes on spending, to then support something, as you know, especially with the midterms coming up, that spends more. But we need 10 Republicans. Now, if it gets to the floor for a vote, we wouldn't actually need any. Well, we have one who's actually a sponsor of this bill. So we would have 51, because the 50 Dems would probably vote for it. We'd have the 1 Republican, and even if not, then the vice president would be the vote in balance there, right? So that's where we are. 10 Republicans at first sounds like an easy feat. It is not. That's why we need everybody. And by the way, my 2 senators are both Democrats. I'm contacting both of them anyway, right? We want to get as much support as we can. So that's the update. Both of them read that once voted on in favor, they have 60 days to get the thing rolling here. So there's the update. All right. I think we're all shocked to be back in the conversation, though. I know IHRSA didn't even expect that, right? Jeff said, what a surprise that we're at least still in the game. So let's at least kind of, you know, put our foot against the firewall if we can here up until they get back for a vote on 25th.
Yeah, thank you, Blair. Appreciate that. And the Jeff that Blair is referring to for everyone is Jeff Perkins. He's the IHRSA Public Policy Director there at IHRSA and stays on top of all this for us. So appreciate that very much.
He doesn't get enough credit.
He doesn't get enough credit. Does a great job.
Yep.
As IHRSA does, staying on top of it.
Yep.
So our first topic today is the greater pandemic, and what it refers to. This is coming out of the Wall Street Journal, and the headline in the Wall Street Journal is actually "Stopping a Pandemic Deadlier Than COVID." And when we reflect on the last 2 years, it's hard to imagine what's another pandemic that's had such an impact on the health of society, not just in the U.S., but around the world. And we've been so focused on, you know, those that we've lost, you know, through COVID, how many people have died from that. But the reality is cardiovascular disease still far outpaces as a pandemic whatever we've experienced with COVID. And so I want to share just a couple of numbers for you. In the first 2 years of the pandemic, COVID killed nearly 900,000 US citizens, 900,000 people in the US. In those same 2 years, heart attacks and strokes killed 1.6 million people in the United States. Globally, COVID resulted in the death of 10 million people globally. Around the world, 35 million people died from cardiovascular disease. So it just really kind of reinforces something perhaps we've lost a little bit of sight of, because our focus has been so much on COVID. And, I guess as someone in the health and fitness industry and the wellness industry, I sure would like to see the government, the pharmaceutical firms, all the public messaging, all the recommendations that we were constantly bombarded with. And still, I saw an ad on TV last night, encouraging everyone to go get the latest booster. Right. If we could get that kind of messaging, right? If Fauci would just one time tell everybody to exercise or be active, or do something to improve your health instead of just taking drugs, I would just love it.
Hey, Brent, were you surprised in this? I was surprised in this article. They focused on three things, right? They focused on tobacco, sodium, and air pollution.
Right.
Exercise is not even mentioned. They use the word calisthenics once early on in this article. Like, I was so excited when this article came out, and I thought, finally, they're going to say the main thing that you should do. They don't even, I was so disappointed.
I know. At least the headline was a good catching point.
That's true. That's true.
And we all saw Dr. Cooper's presentation, which we all really, clamored about when it came to IHRSA, about just moving from that extremely poor or very poor category up to just fair, just be fairly conditioned, which, doesn't require a lot of activity, decreases your risk of mortality multifold, right? So it's not like, the bar is set that high, but anyway, we need to reinforce and put some energy behind what really is an ongoing pandemic and is surging as opposed to decreasing with COVID and increased inactivity. So,
yeah, it's being physically inactive raises the chances of heart disease in men by 52%. Being inactive. And before we turned the camera on, I was telling you about my visit to the Mayo Clinic. Like, the first thing they do is they give everybody a chest x-ray, they give you the ECG, and they put you on a stress test. Because it's the #1 killer, and they tell you this. And it's like the medical community knows this, but for some reason, the general public, it's like, oh, just sit on the couch and just relax and breathe. And it's like a sedentary lifestyle contributes to 20% of the adult mortality rates, 20%.
And one of the things on that point, Sara, the author says in here is that there's so many deaths, and it's just become sort of so normal to, do the prescriptions and everything, that it's sort of just gone to the background, and it's now just sort of silent out there.
Yeah, but I mean, Cheryl just wrote in the comments that there's no money recommending exercise. And she's absolutely right. Like, we always look at things, go follow the money. Where's the money take you? And find out the root, incentive for whatever the hell it is. And the same thing in retirement planning. The only people talking about retirement planning is mutual funds and investment companies and retirement planners. The only people talking about preparing for your family with your will and your estate is funeral homes and estate planners. Like, nobody's talking about things that we all need to do to have better lives. And this exercise thing is so basic. If we go back, just based on how we're designed as human beings, got everything working against us. And nobody's talking about get out there and move more and be more active. And I go back to the same thing, that some of it's confidence. Some people think it's harder to do than it really is. It takes more effort than it really does. The minimum efficacy for benefit from exercise is very small doses.
Yeah, and there's another comment in the chat. Leslie says, well, it's not really fair to compare COVID to cardiovascular deaths because there were so many steps taken around COVID mandated by the government. I think that's true. As I said, I'd just like to see the government get as excited and interested about decreasing cardiovascular deaths as they did about decreasing COVID deaths.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right, let's move on to the next topic.
I mean, look what they did to smoking. You know, it took a long time, but they put the effort around it and made some dramatic results.
Yep, exactly. All right.
I think we're going to start with a video for active aging. I really like this video because I like that it highlighted what you need to do to stay healthy. And one of the things in doing the research on active aging was 28% of adults age 65 to 74, they're active, which is great. I mean, you think the public is like, we're at 16, 17%, whatever. 35% of people over 75 do some sort of physical activity. And the other thing that I thought was interesting, you know, Bill was the one who brought up, it doesn't take that much to be physically active. And the American College of Sports Medicine says what you need is at least 150 minutes a week for 30 minutes for 5 days a week, or 75 minutes of intensity. And you need 2 days of strength training. And you need to do, for active agers, balancing, some type of balance exercise about 3 days a week. It doesn't have to be intense. But if we advertise this more, if we market it better to our clients, I think we're going to have a better response for people coming into our facilities. And when you get older adults coming into your facility, they're more loyal. They don't, to be honest with you, they like the habits. They like to drive to the same place, park in the same place, go to the same class, see the same people. The retention is higher on this group, and it makes a great investment in staying active with your older clientele.
And
So
There's a company called Compan that produces exercise equipment. They have indoor, but they really have put together sort of what I would call a par course for outdoor equipment, but it's all about balancing and flexibility, and it's intended for the aging population. It's pretty cool stuff.
I'll tell you something else too. The idea of grumpy old people is such a farce. Since the beginning, when we ever started MXM, and I can remember this at Medallia, looking at companies like Apple, retail, and that, by far the highest net promoter scores are with the oldest age groups.
Really?
Yeah, but Sarah, you make some good points there too on the active aging part, that the importance of the environment for long-term effects, like and the social piece and the environmental piece, and then, you know, for all those salespeople out there, how many hours in a week? 168 hours in a week. Sarah's 150 minutes by ACSM is 2.5 hours. So you're talking about 2.5 hours out of 168 towards your well-being. That is a small dose for a healthy, happy quality of life.
yeah, and it's, this population is growing. It is growing. It's like, on average, people are typically, what they're saying now, we're living 6 years longer than we did before. And between the years of 2015 and 2050, the world's population over 60 is doubling. It's going from being 12% of the population to being 22% of the population. That's 2.1 billion people. So I know it's sexy to go after the millennials, the Gen Z, et cetera, but I think we've got to look at this market. And even 80-year-olds and older are expected to triple to reach 426 million.
And they have a lot of money. They have more money than anybody else. They have a lot fewer responsibilities outside than, when you're 55 to 60 in that group. And my observation in our own club has been they tend to organically create their own affinity groups.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome to see that, right? I mean, you don't have to do it for them. Like they're not worried about image, and they're not worried about, a bunch of responsibilities. They don't have to rush out of the gym and get back to work most of the time, right? And it's been I think that group has just been like the lifeblood of our clubs at times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up that they create their own groups. It's kind of like it's less work for us.
Yes.
You don't have to create these clubs and walk your dogs and everybody bring a stroller for the baby. And, I have to come up with these creative 4 weeks, 6 weeks plans. They do it themselves, and they'll plan hikes. Like they'll plan, okay, we're all going to get in shape and we're all going to do this hike. So it's pretty, I think it's great.
Yeah, I will throw a plug for a future segment later in the show. We're going to talk a little bit about innovation by design. You can foster this through the design of your facility.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you can encourage it, but it does happen organically.
Yeah. So Bill, go ahead and keep the microphone because you got the next topic, this mainstreaming wellness.
Yeah, that's a big topic. I think we have a slide to share, but we're talking about, we keep talking about wellness in this show, and we're all this articles about wellness. And every time I read a number, it's a bigger number than it was before. Now they're saying $4.2 trillion.
Wow.
With a growth rate of 5 to 10% annually. And so that goes a lot further than the fitness segment of this whole thing. And I don't want to get back into the same old that I've talked about in other shows about the wellness market per se, but when you look at like ACSM's top 2020 trends that Sara I think shared with us already, the first three don't really need a club: wearables, home exercise, and outdoor. Those don't even need a club. And so when we're talking about wellness, we're finding out that people want, there's an 80% increase in people over the last 2 to 3 years on the importance of wellness in their life. And so we kind of roll our eyes sometimes and go, wellness, what does that really mean? Health, fitness, where does it fit in? But consumers are starting to get it. And it's a holistic approach. And I just keep coming back to consumers are looking for it. Everybody's providing different components of it in their own way. And we have just huge opportunities here. Everything that we've already covered, 1 in 10 deaths worldwide right now are due to inactivity. 70% of adults are overweight, 33% of children based on the CDC. And we can just keep going on and on and on with what Sara was sharing with the active, aging. This is a big deal that's becoming even bigger and bigger. And so in finalizing my thoughts before I kick it over to my colleagues here, I look at it as fitness programs that we always do, fitness prescription, group X, movement, functional. Then you've got health management. How do you look at populations? How do you look at groups of people? How do you look at individuals based on their health and managing their health? And then how do you develop programs that not only get them fit, but address those health concerns that they have? And so, it is kind of three tiers to this thing: fitness programming, health management, and wellness programs is how we parse it in active wellness. And if you look at it that way, you'll come up with a lot of innovations on programming. And we can all go through some of the list of those, but this wellness thing, mainstreaming, people are going after it. Sara, what do you think about that?
Well, what I found really interesting is we just left San Francisco for our California conference. And we have a business summit there, and we have an exercise science area, blah, blah, blah. But we, of course, have all these activity classes going on. The yoga classes were huge. And one of the areas in that business summit that people kept bringing up is they can't find yoga instructors. They want yin yoga. People had classes like on sound healing, which is you listen to sounds and I don't know, maybe it's wellness, you heal. But it seems like people are looking at clubs to go beyond, I want to go take a great HIIT class. They're looking for something to go beyond, to go deeper into wellness. And I thought that that was really fascinating. I was very interested in that mind-body connection, and that's what really pulled when you are doing this wellness topic. And that 4.2 trillion, that includes a lot of aspects, like also spas. And so a lot of health clubs are integrating a lot of spa programs into their clubs to make it feel like it's not so much a country club, but that you feel like you're in an environment that's really supportive, that's health oriented, and that helps you get away from, I think, the past 2 years.
Well, I mean, we've never, as an industry, we've never really embraced weight loss as the weight loss industry has embraced it. And between weight loss, nutraceuticals or supplements, spas, medi spas with the medical aspects, you know, even athletic leisure wear, athletic leisure wear, it fits into this wellness thing too, because people feel more active, feel better about themselves when they're comfortable and they're, you know, and so you're right, Sarah, it goes hand in hand. And
Yeah,
then Blair,
the definition of wellness has just been expanded too. All those things you mentioned, Bill, plus active vacations, right? Recreational hiking, use of state parks, all those things are at an all-time high.
I think it's the, I think what we're saying too is, I mean, we got to remember, right? Like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, they didn't create the wellness category, the consumer has. They just saw the trends and labeled it something. So I think what we're seeing is this massive sort of tapering in towards a healthier lifestyle. All the things that we've said where it should be incremental, ways to incrementally move into a healthier lifestyle. It's happening, and that's getting the attention. And I know we're out of time on this. It's happening, and that's getting the attention. It is a river that's flowing, and where you want to jump in and ride that is going to be up to what you do as a company, as a brand.
Right. Exactly. All right. So let's move on to our next topic. If we could put those back up. All right.
I think
Blair,
we're talking about life coaching, right?
yes.
Yeah. So we do have a video on life coaching that should be working. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. That was a great video.
I keep talking about life coaching. So I did a little bit more research because it's like crazy all over online. And ACE has had a certification exam on health coaching for quite some time. And I was reading an article on it, and it's a difficult exam, 65% pass. So that means 1/3 of the people fail. So it's not an easy exam, and it takes a lot of studying. There's a lot of courses out there, and they range from like a couple days for health coaching to months, like a 6-month to a year program. Life coaching you can get like in a day, something quick, something fast. It opens up your mind, it gives you a springboard. But when I read this article, it said health coaches, you can be a health coach, day spas, corporations, medical centers, natural food stores, physicians' offices, wellness centers, and universities. Not one of them mentioned health clubs or fitness facilities. I think this is a great opportunity for us as an industry to go into this because there are no legal requirements. Who's the biggest health coach there was? Tony Robbins, but if you just don't claim that you're curing the sick, that you stay within your scope of practice, it's a pretty open area for us to begin in. And when I researched also what people are making, they're making between $25 and $100 an hour, very similar paying to personal trainers. And so I'm thinking, why don't we integrate this into our facilities like a personal trainer, maybe do a percentage split. And it's a great way for us to really embrace that wellness approach and also diversify a little bit as an industry. And we all need, we need to make money. We need to keep our doors open. And this is an opportunity, I think.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. And I think people have a little bit of, people are still understanding what a life coach really is, right? The video helped explain a little bit, but mentoring is another word that's used. You kind of cross-referenced a health coach and a life coach, when you were giving your description. So Tony Robbins is probably more of a life coach, right, as opposed to a health coach. So I think having certification and some credentialing is important, at least in the aspect people know what they're getting from this person, right? And kind of understanding where those lines might be between the different services that are out there.
I would definitely require certification. It's like, you don't legally need to be certified to be a personal trainer at all. No, there's no regulation. So, but for insurance companies, they kind of require it. So I'm sure that that's going to happen very soon. And certifications are relatively inexpensive and easy to come by.
Yeah. Bill, are you seeing some, are you having life coaches in many of your hospital-based facilities?
No, we do a lot of health coaching, but not a lot of life coaching.
Okay.
But when you talk about Tony Robbins, I've been through the Tony Robbins business mastery course and all that. What Tony does, he's a life coach, but then he plugs all these other specialty coaches. Here I'm going to give the floor to a financial guy that's going to help you with your financial setup. Here I'm going to give you to a nutrition person or a fitness kind of person. So Tony outsources some of the specifics in his life coaching, right? And so, but the same kind of model works. If you're a health coach, you might refer to a chiropractor or a physical therapist or a doc, orthopedic, whatever, it goes both ways. And so what I caution our industry, certifications are too easy to come by. There's no government regulation. And we get a lot of people that go out of their lanes as professionals. I mean, how many instructors and fitness trainers have we had getting people on the wrong nutrients and them having health issues based on supplements and so on and so on. So we got to be able to keep everybody in their lane and not get out of their lane when we talk about life coaching, especially.
I agree. It's all about, as a lawyer, I look at this and the government looks at scope of practice. Don't claim to cure the sick. Stay within your lane. Go and outsource when you need to go beyond.
Real quick, Brent Davis is a health coach, certified health coach, also certified mental performance coach for student athletes. He's put a couple comments in there and everybody can see those. So if he's commenting in there, it'd be worthwhile to go in and read his comments too.
Yeah, thanks, Blair. Okay, next topic is Wall Street bets on gyms. And it says further in their headline, Wall Street bets on gym chains and getting back in shape. So the impetus for the article really is just about how the gyms are recovering, how Peloton has been a little bit on the decline as far as in-home workouts. During COVID, of course, those in-home workouts and on-demand workouts, live streaming workouts, et cetera, that you could do in your living room or your family room at home, those were necessary. They were a good alternative for people, and a lot of people are continuing with those. But the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And what we're seeing, as we've referenced several times on this show in the past, and Wall Street is picking up on this, that clubs are coming back really strong. This particular article really highlights, for the most part, Planet Fitness and how they're getting this infusion of cash from private fund managers. It goes on to say further in the article that they're also seeing funding increase for Lifetime Fitness, the Bay clubs. We've also seen Villa Sport expand their portfolio, acquiring other clubs out there and continue to be very aggressive on expansion, as well as others. So not only are the clubs that were in existence recovering quite well, but there's a lot of expansion going on. And as Blair mentioned, the financial markets now are seeing not only the wellness economy, but also the fact that health and fitness and gyms are making a very strong comeback, and the future is very bright for those that have survived the pandemic. Yeah, and I know, Blair, you're right on top of this as well.
Can I jump in before that?
Yep.
I just want to do our public service announcement, with a nod to the legal profession and the SEC. We're not making any recommendations on our show to buy any of these companies. We're just saying that their self-reported public data is self-reported that their members are coming back, and they're getting a lot of press on the members recovering or membership levels recovering to some degree. So I just want to qualify that we're not making any recommendations to buy any public stock based on our information, because we're not qualified. So I want to throw that out there, Brent.
Can't we
Yeah,
finish
good caution, Bill.
with a voice that says that really fast, so fast? Caution. This is also just very.
No, but sometimes if we put an optimistic spin on it, we just want to make sure we're being clear.
This is well. Let me put a more pessimistic spin. Well, it's very heavy on private equity, right? The money that's coming into Planet's already publicly traded, so the money that's coming in through private equity is backing franchisees. So remember that part, right? That says a lot about how they're thinking about the franchisee growth. The franchisee, his company is not publicly traded. That's a privately owned company, has 70 locations or something. This article is very weighted towards private equity. We're seeing that with a lot of our customers, how much private equity is eager to jump in.
Yes.
Right.
Makes me wonder about those 26% of the deaths that are out there in the industry, and how much of this is sort of, eating the dead. There is a lot of that. There's, vacant, and not just from fitness, but also some retail chains, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of us would say, and all of you have traveled around like I have, not just in the US, but around the world presenting and so forth. And it didn't matter where we went, right? We always heard everybody complain that there's an opportunity for fitness on every corner. Everybody really felt there was an saturation of opportunity. And there's been a little bit of a course correction, not the way we would have liked it, but there's been a market adjustment from COVID of, to your point, Blair, and we've shared those numbers before, 25, 26% of clubs. So I do think it's opened up some new markets and made those that survived healthier. There's no question.
Right.
And with the gyms,
Go ahead, Sara.
well, with the smaller gyms, the boutique studios are typically the ones that fold. It's great for a gym to go in there, and there's maybe already a wood floor, and there's already a mirror, and there's just machinery that's been sitting there for 2 years, and all they do is spruce it back up, and they're able to open, another chain. But you're absolutely right. Private equity is going crazy on health clubs and chains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Bill.
I just wanted to quickly, just basic economics, supply and demand, right? We had what I would call an oversaturation of supply, and demand kept growing, but supply was outstripping demand. So everybody was saying the industry's growing, more members than ever. But on a per box unit, a lot of times the numbers were going down per box.
Right.
So both supply was growing and demand was growing, but supply was outgrowing demand. And so it'll be interesting to see what that looks like on a net per box, per location basis in the next 2 to 3 years.
And after COVID, maybe, I hope people have realized that exercise builds immunity, and maybe we'll have more of a surge of participants. And Jen just commented, COVID made all fitness instructors think outside the box. There's this shortage of instructors. There's still a shortage of personal trainers.
I'm still on the comment from Ginger where she says Sarah's the best.
That's because Sarah's
What the hell's with that?
Ginger related to her, Sara.
Ginger Collins said that.
That's because Ginger, she's got it going on.
Okay, Bill, innovation through design. What do you mean by that?
I don't have any idea, Brent. Let's go in it. No, I mean, where we're talking about the senior population and environments, right? So if you want to encourage seniors, you want to encourage the way you design your facility to make it conducive for seniors to form their groups and have their activities and their potlucks and their games and whatever, right? And so innovation is really, sometimes we think innovation, oh my God, technical, big deal. All it is a new method, idea, or product. It's just a new way of doing something better, getting a different result, twisting something. And in the past shows, we talked about chicken and pickle and hash kitchen and other twists to things. This is more on the environmental basis. Like, how do you design your environment to create more innovation? And so I look at Midtown Athletic Club, right? They did some cool things there that a lot of people hadn't thought about in the obvious past. Let me put a barber shop next to the men's locker room. Let me put a hair salon and a spa right next to the women's locker room. Let me make sure everybody has to go through the area where I serve the food and have other ancillary items for sale. They designed it to create innovative ways at their revenue streams. And they did a really nice job with that Midtown location. But it could be innovation in any way. I mean, here's a couple photos of some different kinds of things that you wouldn't think about innovation. You'd think about, oh, this is just pretty club stuff. But creating destination studios that rival your competitors with their strip mall studios. Typically, a multi-purpose club has an opportunity to do a lot more with their space. They typically have higher ceiling opportunities in some locations. They have the access to the sauna and steam and other facilities. But creating those destination spaces, that's an innovative way to approach it. Creating features that people want to buy a membership to the club because of those features. If Johnny and Sally see the play care and go, oh, I want to be here, guess what? Mom and dad are going to belong. How many people put fire pits out by their pools? Creating a separate event, an innovative way of community. We can go through this. How many clubs don't have a good place for staff to meet? Well, you can conquer that and have a professional conference room that you rent out, and you let local charities have their board meetings in your facility. There's so many things you can do by just baking stuff in and thinking through all the options. Outdoor spaces with obstacle courses. We got our favorite pickleball conversion there and a basketball court. And you can't see that bottom middle one very well, but this is a property in Los Angeles near Balboa Island, Fashion Island. And the retail on the left side of that desk is like one of the best I've ever seen. And we did that. You got grab and go, but with aesthetics, but in a controlled environment with proximity to the desk. So thinking through like all of those things that we do on a daily basis, but going back and just mapping it out step by step by step by step on opportunities to innovate. And we could take this, if we had an hour, we could do a whole workshop on this. But we've innovated with the outdoor spaces, the medical spa stuff, the spa stuff, it goes on and on. So thinking about how you innovate through proper design to encourage your members to use your product the way you want to and to profit from that through optimization of space utilization, if that makes any sense. But we all have a lot of ideas on that, so I'll just throw it out there.
So I'll jump in there. And a lot of these topics sort of, tie together, especially when we're talking about wellness, active aging,
Well, that's because that's the way we programmed the show, Blair. We built it. So
Thanks, Bill. There's a book by Peter Block called Community: The Structure of Belonging. And they literally talk about how to design spaces to facilitate interaction and community. And I think this point about design and being very deliberate about it, like, what are we trying to do with this space? And then recognizing that just, leaving your, suspended ceiling and fluorescent lights in there and putting in, some Pilates beds is not getting that job done, right? You have to think about it. I like that you're pointing out, you have to think about this in a real holistic way and then go through a design process. Like, what is the outcome that we want to achieve, and be very deliberate about it.
Yeah. And people have spent so much money on renovating their homes during COVID. And what is my environment like? That they don't want to go to a facility where, and I'm not just talking about it being dirty, I'm just talking about they want to go to a place that makes them feel good, because that has been their focus now for like 2 years. The renovation, the money people have spent on renovating their homes has been astronomical.
Well, two extra points. Hervé Lavore and Rudy Fabiano, two different architect firms, two different kinds of styles and product, both amazing. But they think about these things. They think about how the consumer is going to use it. Both of those guys, you know, Donnie and Robert McDonald with Hervé and Rudy and his team. But curves, for those of you old enough to, you know, remember curves. I know Sara, you, Brent, and Blair aren't old enough for that, but I am. And just putting the bikes in a circle changed the innovation of creating community amongst the members. So just that one twist where we're not going to look like every other club with cardio stacked this way. We're going to switch it up and create a whole different experience. And that's innovation.
And for older adults, one of the things that's been most important is making sure there's enough space between pieces of equipment for people to walk safely and comfortably.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good little tidbit there. Well, I think it speaks to, Bill, I know you're a big believer in this too. You know how much I'm into design as well, but it's the look and feel, and the look and feel helps drive the overall experience.
Yep.
And some might say that affects the customer impression, Blair. I don't know.
It is absolutely a huge part. That's designing for customer experience is what you're doing.
But we're talking about form and function.
Form
right?
and function.
Form, so look and feel is form. What's the function to generate the outcomes? You know, so they go hand in hand, form and function. And a lot of times we build pretty things and haven't thought through the full function. That's one of the points.
Yep. Very good.
Well said. All right, Blair.
All right, talent game. I'll leave you with this great quote from Peter Block. It's so fitting for gyms. He said, belonging is the opposite of feeling that wherever I am, I'd be better off somewhere else. There you go. Okay, so we talked about this great resignation. Last show, we talked about it really, they called it a great reshuffling. So I'm going to go through some of what they're learning about the workforce and in 4 different categories. The first 2, and I want to just focus on the top 4 in each of these for a minute here. So people that left their job without having another job in hand, right? And I forget how many millions in just November, December of 21. Leadership that didn't care. Turns out this unsustainable work performance and expectations is in a lot of companies with that pandemic, they laid off a bunch of people and then expected you have to pick up more of a workload. Now imagine an uncaring leadership with that now piled on you, and then not enough of a development path, a career development path, and then the 4th, lack of meaningful work. Okay. Now they're talking to people that accepted a current job, but going back to work. And I'm going to give you 2 other categories after this. Going back to work, flexibility was one. This compensation package, and it's the total compensation package we're talking about. So we're talking about money and benefits, the now sustainable work performance, and then career development path. Okay, now just hold those 4 in mind. I'm going to give you 2 other categories that comes from the same research, and we can take that down now. And 2 other categories that come from the same research. People that said they could leave again in the next 6 months. Could leave again in the next 6 months. Lack of career development path. Inadequate total benefits, compensation and benefits. Lack of meaningful work. Lack of flexibility. Next one. People that left the traditional workforce to go into more non-traditional jobs. The reasons they say they would come back to a traditional job: meaningful work, flexibility, adequate total compensation, and a career development path. So it's just like run on repeat. If you can get rid, good thing back to the first one, uncaring leaders was the #1 reason that people left. And then the unsustainable work expectations. Well, with that, I'll just get your reaction to that.
Well, I'll go first. I'd say on, the uncaring leaders, in their defense overall, they were under so much pressure. We've talked about it in our own industry with the club owners, present company included on our roundtables, Blair. We've talked about, just, wow, we were under so much pressure running our businesses, worried about the finances, worried about the staffs, the closures, the customer. You feel responsible for all those stakeholders. And that sometimes they forget then about the staff, right? Because they're worried about just keeping the club open and they're so concerned about the customers. And then the second point about unsustainable work expectations and other outcome, and we see it across all industries still, is the staffing is still much lower than it was before.
Right.
Even in restaurants,
Right.
used to a waiter or waitress might have 4 tables. Now they got 6 or 8. And everybody's doing more work with less people.
Yep. We had that conversation at IHRSA in Dallas with the bartender. He's just, busting it. He's got one person out in the place. He said, this is a business we've been since the pandemic. And I forget how much money they did that. Oh, it was like, he said, we did $21,000 last night with just the 2 of us. And he's kind of engaging with us and he's like freaking burning out. Yeah. Right. He said, they got to bring somebody back. And that's where I think we even had this conversation saying, and I've noticed this too, Bill brought this up before. When I go stay at the SeaTac Hilton, if I'm going to fly someplace, they still haven't brought back valet parking, right? Now everything is, and I have.
They haven't even brought back cleaning your hotel room.
No.
In fact, at the Avalon in Atlanta this last week, there for the Workout Anytime conference, and Jenny and I did a presentation that went really late. We're looking for a place to eat. Jenny finally went up and said, "I'm just going to go find out if they have room service. I'll just go to room service." Asked the person if they had room service, and she didn't appear to know what it was. Right? She said, "Huh? Room service." And she said, "Oh, do you need your bed made up?" And she said, "No, food. Like food."
And I feel like we have an open position. We're looking to add another designer to our team. And it's shifted. We used to interview people and they used to have to kind of prove themselves to us. You look at the resume, what does this mean? What does that? Instead, it's kind of shifted. It's like, I'm selling our company to them, and you need to. If you're looking for people, you need to sell your business to them.
Yeah, good point, Sarah. Bill, you want to say something else before we move on?
No, I mean, I was just looking at Blair's list, 12 times, 4 times the same thing, right? It's almost like contributory human relationships, right? I mean, you can almost use this in every human relationship. Do I help people grow? Are they better for being my friend and in my life? Do they get an equal amount of reciprocity with regard to benefit? Is our relationship meaningful? And, is it flexible where there's no judgment, on other people's life and schedule? I mean, you could take those things and almost translate them into, if you want to have good, productive relationships where you make other people better and you are better for it with it, then they're the same kind of things.
Bill, and it's just those common principles, right? And they don't go away because you leave your ordinary life, and you can apply the same thing to your consumer, to your customer, your member. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Driving inclusivity. There you go,
and of
Sarah.
course, we've got another video.
Of course.
I really like this because I feel like to get, we all talk about community, building a community in our clubs, but I think we can also look at our members, look at our instructors and see what their individual proclivity would lead them to do a specialty program, because that is a great way to service our community, a little broader community, our cities that we're in. And it also really builds a compassionate image for our business. And I think that that's important. I think that our image has been a bit tarnished over the years, and this will help. And when I was looking at all these programs, which I thought were fascinating, I only showed you half of the ones that I found. A lot of them were focused on mental health and issues like the trauma, the misfits, I don't feel comfortable in society or my own skin. And a lot of them talked about no diets. And they did use the word diet because, you know, because that's a bad word, body positivity. And I really think that we should think about offering some type of program, some type of class where there's financial flexibility. Half of them talked about financial flexibility. There were a couple of them talked about the first 3 visits are free, you know, and it gets them in. I know we do these, you know, week passes or couple day passes, but it's a specialty program to really help people. And I was just, you know, it's very heartfelt when you read these things and you read the history of the teachers and the trainers that are leading these things. And I was wondering, you know, do you guys have any programs that have worked, you know, maybe arthritis based, a yoga based? And the one that hit me the most, and I'm going to encourage all of you to think about adopting this program. The Tai Chi Fit program is endorsed by the VA Care Program. The Veterans Administration Care Program. The Veterans Administration reimburses you $35 per person. So if you have a group fitness class that has 10 people in it and it's focused on Tai Chi for veterans to help with their mental state, you're going to make $350 per class if there's 10 people in there. So there are wonderful programs out there that you can bring in. It's Tai Chi Fit, and I recommend that one.
Yeah, good recommendation, Sarah. Bill, I know this topic's near and dear to your heart, and you offer a lot of these programs, as do you, Blair, but you go ahead, Blair.
Well, I'll throw one out that we did, and it was years ago, and it was when we were Gold's Gym. We've been doing the Gold's Gym Challenge, you know, the transformation. We partnered with Dr. Tucker here, and she's an internal, he passed away, an internist, and we did a 16-week diabetes challenge. And Dr. Tucker was a diabetic himself. He had diabetes himself. And they tracked, we had the clinic track everything. We had probably 70 people participating. It was actually written up in a peer-reviewed journal, and I went and presented to the American Medical Group with Dr. Tucker on this. I've never seen a more positive, inclusive group of people. When we did the finalists, you got awards for like the best recipes and getting your A1C checked the most during this time. We had all of these checks and balances during this. God, they were cheering each other on. It just was a whole different deal, man. And they came from every walk of life. It was, and as Sarah's talking about this, I'm rethinking, I'm thinking, good Lord, did we just do that for that study, or why didn't we actually really operationalize that program? It was a phenomenal experience for our staff and I think for the people involved.
Yeah. Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I like where Sara was going with that. You know, we've all talked about, you know, Rocksteady boxing and some of these off-the-shelf programs, and you know, the Arthritis Foundation pool programs, and you know, so.
And Fit for All from NOAA. Remember NOAA down at Gainesville created Fit for All programming.
Yeah. And so that's what I love, like the lifestyle programs, or, you know, the prep programs, you know, the physician referred exercise programs, because they're general. They can be customized to each person that comes in the program. You know, ACAC did a great job in spearheading that. And then of course, you know, exercise medicine. So with those kinds of programs, you can do a pre, mid, post assessment, coach them weekly, you know, and help them wherever they are in the journey. So we have to start where they are starting. And so by having those programs that are, you know, to Sara's point, that are inclusive, that allow people to have the skill set, ability, confidence to do that in the beginning, I think it's just critical. And, you know, be careful of marketing something you don't have. And if you have it, market the hell out of it. Right. And so
Yep.
Yeah, when I've worked, with the club owners and many of the Rex owners and clubs have several of these types of programs in their facilities. And to your point, Bill, I would just make not a caution, but that recommendation maybe to the people to maybe try one of these that they think is really in their sweet spot. They either have a population that really they know they can serve very effectively, and try one and then add another one, but don't try and roll out a bunch of these all at once. Really focus your efforts so you can do it the right way and get a good response.
Yeah, well, our buddy Robert Johnson at Forma Gym and Fitness BI, he did Project Walk, right? And he built that around a group of people. And some of our locations we might have only one or two specialized programs, but we always have the lifestyle program, right? So yeah, don't bite off more than you can chew, and do one or two things really well, not 5 mediocre.
Yeah. Okay, Blair. And I'm not going to tell everybody your background in fun, but you're the perfect person to talk about the power of fun, which might surprise some people. Go ahead. I'll just let everybody wonder what in the heck I'm talking about.
Tell you about the circus clown piece.
Yeah.
So the book is called The Power of Fun: How to Feel Alive Again. It's by Catherine Price. In her interview, the question was, why now? And she said, well, it couldn't be more fitting time than coming out of this pandemic. A few things. And as I talk through this, I'm going to challenge the three of you to kind of think about what do you do that is the most fun, as I describe how she kind of couches what authentic fun is against what fake fun is. Her point is that the time to bake fun and into your daily life, I would say she's really advocating for you to operationalize fun into your lifestyle, is when times are toughest, because that will give you more resiliency and grit to make it out of tough times. Just in her research, fun always included three key things. Authentic fun included three key things: playfulness, connection, and flow. And it could be connection with other people. It could be connection with something inside you. The playfulness is doing it just for the joy of doing it. I think about, like, and Brent will really relate to this, in carpentry, if I go to help build a deck for a friend or something like that, how fun that is. Now, that's way different than saying, I've got to do this on Thursday and I'm going to get paid to do it. Right? No, I don't want to get. Let me just come help you build that deck, and then you get in a state of flow. She said one of the great outcomes of this is people start to focus more and more, naturally start to focus more and more on looking for positive things and less on looking at negative things. But she's really talking about operationalizing fun in life cycles. So, into your daily life. So for the three of you, I'm going to call Brent out on something here, because playfulness, connection, and flow, all of us know Brent and been to his house. And I'm telling you, dude is creative. And it's Brent is having his most fun when he's building or creating something. Brent,
Oh yeah, absolutely right on that. And nobody really would equate Brent with fun. You don't hear those words together very often, but I know how to have fun myself.
Yeah.
I just like doing it with inanimate objects. That's all.
This is not going in a good, direction. Not at all.
Oh Lord, you might as well just throw a balloon over the plate, So Sara, fun. What?
All right. I think this is really important, because I think when you're looking at a fitness program, you're physiologically not really going to see a change until you hit the program at about 10 weeks. All these research studies, they've got to be at least like 10 weeks long, or you're not going to get that documented improvement in your heart or in your muscle strength, etc.
Wait, Sara, I have to interrupt, because remember, we've been telling everybody, but mental wellness, immediate results.
I know. But I'm talking about physically these changes. Maybe weight, you might not see the weight loss, because some of the women still go to the programs, not just for mental. They're going to see a physiological change. You don't see it for 10 weeks. So you know what? You've got to do for 9.5 weeks as a teacher, as a trainer. You better darn well make it fun, or they're not going to get to the 10 weeks.
So Sara, what about you? what about you? What's like, and remember, like playfulness, I'm doing it for the sake of doing it. Connection, I connect either with others or with myself. And flow is sort of that mental state where you lose track of time. And I think this is one of the reasons, by the way, yoga is getting more and more popular. I think a lot of those things exist, and maybe you're not in pain. So I'm asking for each of you and Bill, what is the thing that you do that fits that category the most?
What is the thing that if you talk about yoga, there's this great yoga class. They dim the lights. They play huge rock and roll. I mean, it is loud. I can barely hear the teacher. You know, I end up on the wrong side. I don't do right. I don't do left. I'm messing up. But I go to this class, like, and I just lose myself. I lose, and that's one of the things I really like.
Excellent. Bill?
Yeah, I mean, physically, I really like, going out in nature and doing light hiking. But as far as play goes, blackjack, and teaching people things. Like I love when I present to an audience that I can help, or a team that I can help, or my team on a topic. Like I really enjoy teaching, and I really enjoy blackjack, and I really enjoy being outside in nature and getting activity that way.
Excellent. Excellent. So remember this, and I think Sarah's point about trying to figure out how to build this into our clubs is important. I do it just for the sake of doing it. I connect with others and I get in a state of flow. And really, that's the book, The Power of Fun: How to Feel Alive Again by Catherine Price.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Blair. That was good. Good wrap up topic for us. I want to answer a few of the questions that I see coming in. So I'm going to start with you first, because you referenced threw out some numbers about the aging population and how we're growing older as a society. And so, what are you seeing with Group X? Are they more interested in, doing typical group exercise, small group training, or one-on-one training with personal trainers? What are you seeing?
I see a lot the Group X. I'm seeing, because they've been isolated for so long, and they have time on their hands, and they don't. I think, if you're working all day long and you're on the phone and you're getting text messages and you're Zooming and you're this and you're that, you're like, I want to get away. Maybe I'll just do a personal training and just zone out. But I think older adults are really engaging in that group environment, because they have time. They want to connect.
Well, and Bill, I don't want to forget, you always do such a great wrap up for us. Do you want to do that and kind of hit the highlights again before we answer a few more questions?
No, I think we were pretty straightforward today. I mean, I took some notes. Get out there and support S4008 with your Senate. Understanding the pandemic of inactivity. Sara did a great job talking about 150 minutes per day with active aging. We talked about mainstreaming wellness, the importance of health coaching and life coaching, betting on Wall Street, or Wall Street bets on gyms, that there's a lot of favorable news out there right now. The talent game comes back to human relationships, and lack of career pathing and growth for your people, lack of benefits and compensation that's satisfactory, lack of meaningful work, and lack of flexibility. Sara brought us into the inclusivity with driving inclusivity with our programming, and she was really bullish on the Tai Chi fitness. And then Blair talked about the diabetes challenge and study, and now he's going to go back and operationalize that into a program ongoing, I think.
That's right.
Based on the results, and then we talked about a little playful connection and flow fun. So, but most of it was covered adequately, and there's a quick highlight summary, Brent.
All right, and I appreciate it. Well, while you got the mic again, you ended up talking about fun, which is some people would say that's entertainment. How do you kind of create or craft entertainment into design? Don't you think that's a part of it in some ways as well?
Yeah, I mean, me and Mike Rucker called it, and he probably got it from somebody as smart as him and a lot smarter than me, but exertainment, we called it. I just read something else, I think from the UK, called fit-utainment. And the concept is simply that if you're operating fitness in a silo and not thinking of yourself as an entertainment vehicle, you're probably missing some opportunity. So with that holistic approach to wellness, engagement and fun and liking what you're doing and liking how you're interacting, entertainment is a part of that. You know, I mean, you could hear somebody give a flat presentation or somebody that has dynamic charisma, and it's two different experiences, right? So fun is a part of wellness and mental stimulation and engagement. So fit-utainment and exertainment are some words to kind of keep in mind with our product.
Okay, good. I like that. Another question for you, Sara. Do you see life coaching being successful only online, or you think we can, incorporate that into club offerings in a real way?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you asked that. We talked about life coaching, we talked about health coaching,
Mhm.
and there's also wellness coaching. And that's one thing that we didn't address. Life coaching deals more like, finances and social and your family. And the health coaching can integrate with the medical profession, and the wellness coaching can deal with your emotionality and your personal state. And I really think that health clubs need to get involved. I really do. As a teacher, as a trainer, people will ask you questions and tell you things you don't even want to know about them. It gets very, very personal. And I think if we can get some serious training going on, that this can be a very strong financial addition to our clubs and help our society.
I wonder if that'll be, if there's any of that at IHRSA coming up. And Pam just put in a deal, don't forget to register for IHRSA. But that I think some of these topics are going to start to become, bubbling up to the top, and maybe get some health coaching or wellness coaching sessions. It'd be interesting to see if we have anything like that coming up.
Yeah, because we're all looking for what's the next thing. Like we talked about this last month. It was like bar training. I had to switch it with my active aging room because it's just shrinking. So what's going on? Where are we going to go?
Yeah. Thanks, Sara. Blair, okay, next question's for you. Going back to the McKinsey report on the reasons people are leaving their job, whether they've got one currently or they're unemployed, either way. And we've talked about this a lot related to staffing and the great resignation, about the importance of helping people develop themselves professionally and maybe even also personally. Can you share a few things that you're aware of or that you've done yourself with staff to give people some ideas about what do we really mean when we're saying invest in these people and help them grow?
Yeah, this actually goes back to the book, the work done in the book Prime to Perform.
Mm-hmm.
That says, the three biggest motivators are play, purpose, and potential, in that order. So play is the sense that I get to use my intellect to solve problems and my curiosity. It's not, there's a shuffleboard in the break room. That's not what play is in work. It's you didn't hire me for my hands and feet. You hired me for my head and my heart, and I get to use them to solve problems or opportunities. Purpose is, look how purpose came up in all of this, in this McKinsey, meaningful work. That's purpose, right? And then potential.
And Gallup's Q12, same thing. They support that.
Yep. And potential. And sometimes the career path isn't necessarily in your company. We always say that you'll either have a career with us, or a career enhanced by us. But the potential piece has to be that you're, and by the way, giving people more play in their work creates more potential for them. Mm-hmm. They're learning things. They're learning how to be a better business person. They're learning how to, take charge of something, use their resourcefulness, use their initiative. That helps them when they go into another workplace. So the development piece is really, I'll give you an example of this. My nephew, who's our COO here at MXM, when he was in business school, he interned at a very large fruit grower, one of the largest in the world here, and he did it in the academy. And it's like this, coding, from boxes and pads and like where do they go on a P&L, where do they go on the expense? It's all this, but it's building your resume. It's saying, I did this tour of duty at this level, and people will do that work if they feel like it's creating a better future for them somewhere else that they can grow. And I think sometimes it's just that we have to emphasize some of this. No one wants to make the work, horrible, but
Yeah.
go ahead,
Love
Bill.
that,
Well,
Blair. Go
that's
ahead,
what-
Bill.
That's
Let-
also
let
what
me go.
Google does, is they want 20% of your work to be just totally something you want to do on your own. And they give you that freedom. Sorry, Bill, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm just looking at like who's involved in this call from a participant standpoint and this topic about mentorship. Like ABC sponsors this show and they provide a lot of educational content and they make this show possible. And that's huge. We got Norm Cates out there. Norm Cates is one of the founders with Rick Caro of IHRSA. He got the Club Insider sharing news and knowledge with all those people. Rick Caro's out there watching the show right now. He's mentored me my entire career. IHRSA's sponsoring the show, putting it on with their great staff, the production team behind the show. And they allow so many opportunities for growth and mentorship. You know, you got Ginger Collins out there in our audience today, the Gold's Gym Franchise Association. You got Eddie Talk with Rex. You got Sara sitting right here on the panel with SCW. I mean, the amount of people committed to helping other people on this panel, but more importantly, in our audience and in our network of friends and colleagues. And there's more people out there watching that I haven't mentioned. But one of my early mentors, a good friend of Rick's, a guy named Mitch Wald, said, the student finds the teacher. You can go out there and ask somebody to mentor you. And very few people that you're in relationship with will say no.
Right.
And, you know, it's like, can you help me build a deck? Yeah, I'm your buddy. Of course I will. You know, hey, I'm looking for a mentor. You know anybody or would you mentor me? And most people say yes to that. So finding your mentors and creating your own mentorship program through these associations that provide content, you can do a little bit of both. Anyway, I just want to hit on it because I'm just looking at the audience and just impressed with the amount of givers out there and the amount of people that are committed to helping people grow. And we all should tap that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like Blair said, Bill, and you've done a great job of that as well. Blair said, I think your quote was, Blair, we're either going to enhance your career with us or enhance your career when you leave us, either way.
Right.
And Bill, you've always said when people said, oh, I don't know if I want to send this person to get that education or this conference because they may not be with us in 6 months. And you would always say what?
Yeah. Would you rather train them up and have them leave or not train them up and have them stay?
Right.
You know, I want to train them up on the risk that their career is going to be better with me.
Right.
And the more you train them up, the better chance there is that they're going to stay, right? It's like you're taking a serious, approach to their future. And it doesn't just have to be, you don't have to create the training. You can, we just had one of our trainers just got back from a stretch to win in Scottsdale, right? I mean, that really helped enhance her career. And, you can have them attend, there's so many online things to attend. And
Right.
Yeah.
a lot of it is not expensive. It's stuff that just enhances, their performance. And don't be afraid of investing in people's development. And to Bill's point,
There's fantastic stuff out there. We've got one of our social media person, Robin Manish. She's brilliant. And she started doing some design stuff. And it was a $35 program in one and a $25 for another. I'm like, go. She did all 3 videos. No, professional gone to school for this project. She did all 3 videos for me this week. I mean,
Yeah,
she's
that's great.
brilliant. And if you give people that opportunity, you benefit tenfold. And it's just, let's hit it again. It was just fun. She's like, oh my God, it's working, and it's great. It makes it worthwhile.
that's good.
In one of our reviews, non-periodic, not the annual review, but the sort of every 3-month check-in with our staff, one of the questions we'd ask every one of them was, is there a talent that you either have already or that you'd like to enhance or like to develop that we're not using and may not even be aware of that's outside the scope of your responsibilities? And you'd be shocked at the answers that come back and how they might be able to help out just like she has in other areas. That's a good idea for people.
Great.
Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in today. We're running up on the close of our time together. Thanks so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you again next month. Thanks a lot to all my panelists, Blair, Bill, Sara, one more time. Again, everybody's volunteering their time for this and hoping it's providing some good insight, hopefully maybe a little bit of inspiration and education for our industry. So thank you all for tuning in and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye all.